What did you make of Mr. Trump's announcement yesterday, particularly his decision that the United States would now be running Venezuela?
Well, I think there are a number of points to make, Trevor, to be quite frank. And, you know, the world sort of watched yesterday, I think, this big jaw-dropping moment, but failed to recognize that the United States of America under President Trump has been really putting together one hell of an armada out around Venezuela, taking out serious boats that have all been involved in illegal, illicit drug trade and trafficking. And I was in Washington in November when the national security strategy was released, and I'm afraid there are a lot of people in Britain, Europe, that basically almost sort of were quite, you know, shrill and churlish about the strategy, where it clearly said that President Trump was going to be asserting American influence. And you've already mentioned, I think David did as well, your Washington correspondent, about, you know, the Roosevelt corollary and the history, the Monroe Doctrine. That national security strategy was crystal clear that America under Trump was going to assert itself when it came to issues of chronic wrongdoing that were having a big impact on the United States. And it pointed to Latin America in particular. So should we have anticipated this? Absolutely. And it's just interesting now to listen to the responses and the reactions. That press conference yesterday was extraordinary. I have to say, the military dissection and the explanation of the operation that took place was extraordinary, done to precision. No doubt they're clearly very proud of the way in which they executed that. But the fundamental questions now are all political. It's what next? What about the people that are going to come in? What about the fundamental principle of democracy? Maduro was a terrible tyrant. He was an illegitimate tyrant who oppressed his own people.
Before we get on to that, I do want to ask you about that. You sound rather enthusiastic about this. Straightforwardly, you think this was a good thing, well executed. Applause for the White House.
First of all, I've just given you the context around what America chose to do, what President Trump chose to do. You know, for those of us that have been following this, it's pretty clear that was the direction of travel. The execution, I think we should just recognize this. It happened very quickly, and the Americans, the government are clearly, we're all watching this, and we only know what was said yesterday. We're now watching this from the ultimate implications of what this means.
I wasn't asking you for a commentary on it. I was asking you whether you support it or not. And
well, look, the fact that Maduro is gone, we absolutely support. This guy was an oppressive tyrant. He was a complete dictator. He was responsible for all sorts of terrible things. And I think that's welcome. The Americans are now going to go through their own process in terms of how this is handled. And clearly there's a court indictment now against Maduro and his wife. And it's interesting from a legal perspective.
For a straight-talking Essex MP, you seem to be reluctant to say whether you thought this was a good idea, a good thing to do or not.
Just said no one's going to cry over the fact that Maduro has gone. That is a very clear statement that he was a terrible tyrant. We've never, ever supported his illegal, illegitimate government at all. So on this basis, the question is fundamentally political. What happens next? That is a fact. That really is in terms of what the direction of travel is and what happens next. And that's something we've all got to consider. There is also, the point about drugs is very serious because the United Kingdom in the past has been involved in operations and security cooperation with the United States on stopping drugs from Latin America coming to the United Kingdom. There was speculation just towards the end of last year that the United Kingdom had stopped sharing intelligence with the US administration over this issue as well. So, you know, there's a lot of questions that will obviously follow.
Well, one question that follows is that Mr. Trump says that the Americans are going to run Venezuela themselves until further notice. I think that's a new version of colonialism.
Well, this is my point about the political direction of travel. We believe in democracy. And the question has to be now, these are political questions about what that pathway to democracy is going to be for Venezuela. There was an opposition leader who won the previous election in 2024, which Maduro clearly cancelled that result. So I think these are the important questions that we should be asking. I'm sure these are questions the British Foreign Secretary will ask of her counterpart. I hope those conversations will take place. You've already discussed the fact that the United Kingdom was not engaged on any of this, which I don't think is that surprising. This was a highly classified operation. I think fundamentally all the questions now are all political, and whether or not, don't forget there are British nationals in Venezuela as well. We have to think about some of the practicalities here too.
Just quickly, a couple quick questions on the Middle East, which is where you are right now. What do you think the Iranians are going to make of this? Do you think that they can see another Trump expedition heading their way?
I think, again, when it comes to Iran, we've seen these extraordinary protests over recent days. These are brave people. They've been protesting for many years now. Trump has already taken enormous action against Iran on those nuclear facilities last summer. And that brought a cessation, obviously, to the 12-day war, as it was called at the time. I think Iran will clearly watch anything and everything America does. It's pretty volatile in Iran right now. We know that there are various groups and organizations that are protesting for different things and different outcomes for Iran. Quite fundamentally, I think this is also a big moment for the United Kingdom because it speaks to about our direction of travel vis-a-vis Iran, how we work with the E3, snapback sanctions, some of the circumvention of sanctions that have been taking place. These have all been widely reported and documented. So I have no doubt that the Iranian regime will be watching this very closely.
Lastly, can I just ask you about Abdel al-Fattah? This man gained British citizenship while you were Home Secretary. I understand that you supported the campaign to have him released. Do you feel any embarrassment about that right now?
Well, first of all, I have not been an advocate in terms of someone that's been, calling for him constantly to be released or anything of that nature. The fact of the matter is, over the last, I think now 7 to 10 days, so much more information has come out about what he's been saying, his conduct, and we're very clear that he should have his citizenship now stripped based upon him being non-conducive to the public good. He's failed all the tests.
But you gave it to him. Didn't anybody actually just have a look at what he had said previously before you decided to give him a British passport?
Basis. You have to go back. Context does matter here. You have to go back to look at the legal basis. I did not make the ultimate decision around his citizenship. Let's just be clear about that. There was a case with the ECHR back in 2019 that had implications for those who could gain citizenship through their parents, their mother in this case, and the various tests of good life tests were not considered because of ECHR to be relevant at the time. You know the position of my party right now. We're very clear about leaving the ECHR because of all these types of issues that get thrown up. Fundamentally, we think the system needs to be reformed and changed. We've been putting forward proposals on that.
Right.
And on top of that right now, we've been very clear that we just don't think he can have British citizenship. And this is now an onus and a focus for the UK government to basically use the laws and the powers that Parliament have given them to ensure that he's stripped of that citizenship.
Sorry, thank you very much, Priti Patel, for your time this morning.
Thank you.